And today we have with us Wilma Hyde, who I've known for many, many years. Say hello, Wilma, so your face comes up on the screen.
Hello.
There you go.
Hello, friends.
So now you see Wilma. If you want to read about Wilma and all of her exploits, you can go to the PlymouthEnergy.org website and go to Resilience Roundtable, and there's a little description there. A little bit of housekeeping. If you come in, we're going to ask that you stay muted, because otherwise you're and I will probably be interrupting at times if people come in, and when they come in, to put up any questions in on the chat so that we can see them and then ask the questions of Wilma. But we brought Wilma in today because Wilma has worked with children for a long time, and so we thought that as a Wilma, you're a pediatric nurse. Describe what you do.
Yeah, so a pediatric nurse practitioner, and I've worked with families here in Plymouth for 22 years, and now I specialize in child development. So my particular interest is helping families be able to be healthy and strong and be able to navigate situations just like this. These kind of stressors, even though it's COVID-19 we're talking about today, it's families are under stress all the time, and I'm really happy to be able to help them come through this stronger and healthier, happier, and even more free from a lot of the guilt and worries that they carry around with them.
So there are a lot of stresses right now. We have to admit, and so this is a challenging times. Let me ask you, how much do you say to kids, and at what ages is it okay to talk to them about it, and how much do you really want them to know, and is it bad for them to know too much? I mean, is it going to freak them out?
That is perfect. So if you go to study child development, what we do is we look at what each age is capable of understanding, how much information would be useful to them. And I also look at this, and you might have heard this described before, is we're all in the same storm, but we're certainly not all in the same boat. So some of us have a lot more stressors than others, whether it be economic, whether it be a variety of age children at home. I take care of families where they have children at home with anxiety or autism, ADHD, health problems. So we all come to this with different experiences and different levels of stress. I think for me to think of it, I first think of it as being a variety of families, and there's no one size fits all. I think I would be short-changing your viewers if I didn't first mention just Piaget and the thinking that goes around how you discuss different things with different children. This is simple, but it would be thinking of babies up to the age of 2 as just needing sensory oral. They just need to touch, smell, they need to be fed, cared for, safe. Everything revolves around their parents and their parents' nonverbal cues, primarily how you're holding your body, how relaxed you are, how often you're smiling. So for babies, it's just taking a breath, lowering your shoulders, calming yourself, going to their sweet little faces and reminding them they're going to be okay. For the next age, which is sort of the 3 to 7, that is the pre-operational phase. This is the magical thinkers. These are the superheroes and the princesses. These are the kids that can fly to the moon, and they're most worried about themselves. So that's a very egocentric phase because they couldn't possibly survive on their own, little humans that age, so they have to think of themselves. So reassuring them is very, very simple, saying, I hear you're worried. It's normal to worry. Let's start making some Play-Doh. You do something to redirect them. You reassure them that they're loved. They're in a safe place. The safest place to be is home. The safest place right now is with your family, and we're all together. I'll go through more like how to address everyone, but first let me go through each of the stages.
Sure.
After the 3 to 7, then you go to the 7 to 12. Now this is concrete operational. These are the children that understand rules. They want to know exactly what's happening and they want to follow rules. These are the kids that notice what's the speed limit? What are the rules for Monopoly? They're not really creative yet. They're much more following the rules. If you remember from Piaget at all, these are the kids that if you say, the rule at my house is that a feather will break a glass. If you say to that 6 to 12-year-old, will a feather break a glass? They'll say, no, feathers don't break glass. They're very specific, very concrete. So those kids need very brief explanations. In fact, I usually say to them, what are you thinking about? What kind of questions do you have? And then keep it really simple, short. And first thing, parents, deep breath, calm yourself. Most communication is nonverbal. We need to be calm ourselves to just lend them our confidence. And then there's the 12 and up, which is all of us. And these are deep thinkers. These are people that are worried about the environment and the impact this is going to have on jobs and education and the earth. So these are deep thinkers, and these are children that very much need to be congregated together. It's not natural for them at all to be isolated. So they think, I don't want to be home. They say it doesn't hurt children. Why can't I be with my friends? They're not at all. Some of them are beginning to be able to put other people's needs first, but teenage years are still a time of peer pressure among your same peers. And it's a time when they have deeper thoughts. They might need more explanation. But again, I have to meet them where they are. So I usually say, what are you thinking about? What kind of questions do you have? And keep it simple. Nervous people talk too much. They share too much. Shut off the news. Make sure they're not getting inundated with news. You just want to really meet the child where they are, and knowing each of our children are different. Some are anxious. Some are very laid back. They're all going to be different. But listening to them, respecting them, and managing our own need for calm. We have to stay calm.
So tell me, I mean, right now, I think that for me, the worst thing about the COVID virus has been, rightfully so, they just don't know, but the information is just, there was information gaps probably and voids that led to, being filled by, anybody talking about anything. And so a simple question, if you get a cough, should you panic? I mean, and I think people, when I see how many people have been tested negative, I mean, I think there's in New Hampshire, there's 2,000 people tested positive. There's like 15,000 that have been tested negative. Those are people that thought they had it that don't. So, what should you do? I mean, I take the deep breath, but beyond that, where do you go?
So there's two answers to that. Whether you're going to go to the cerebral answer of what are we doing now in terms of testing? What are we doing for isolation? What is the epidemiology? How are things evolving? And how are we as a human species responding? But my focus really wants to be on how are we leaning into the uncertainty? Can you manage things when there are uncertainties? Because with this COVID-19, we're going to continue to have uncertainty. So if you look at the cycle of worry, we get a trigger, say COVID-19,
yeah.
You then decide what's your belief system. So the first thing is you're going to worry, and then your belief system is oh my gosh, I can't handle this. I'm so nervous. I better get all sorts of supplies and I better lock myself up. And then you're going to be more worried, and it's going to be a little cycle of worry. What if you have a cycle of COVID-19? Sure, it's something for us to be very careful about. It's a brand new virus. Our human species has never seen it before. There's going to be constant changes. But what if our belief system is, we can handle whatever comes our way. We got this. And so if they say, I'm worried about Grammy. You say, well, I understand. I'm worried about Grammy too. That's why we're staying away, to keep her safe. Maybe we could send her a letter. Maybe we could write her a song. So I think the better thing for families at home is not to obsess about the details of the actual medical care model and how that's changing. So we at Dartmouth are getting new emails every single solitary day about the data that you shared, what's the testing, how many are positive, how many tests are going to be available. And honestly, it's changing so quickly that I think it's best for families to just say, we got to lean into this uncertainty. We have to know that we're in a part of the world that has great medical care. Look at us here. I'm sitting in my yard. I can get fresh air. I think that's where everybody has a different way of coping. But don't worry about a little cough. No, that's not a worry.
It's not for kids. It's not for kids. It's me. I'm worried.
Yes, everyone's going to panic with a cough.
Right.
But now there's testing if you're sick.
Right. Let's talk about. So one of the things that I personally want to talk about is I've been saying there's 3, and 3, a third, and a third of the people I think still believe that it's just no big deal at all. A third are medium, a third are lock themselves away 100%, and I'm trying to get across, and I think we should try to get across the idea of, you're not wearing a mask or doing this for you, you're doing it for somebody else.
Yes.
And the concept of pretend like you've got it. And what would you do if you had the flu? You wouldn't go kiss your grandmother. You know what I mean? So do you think that's taking hold, or do you think are people getting that? Do you think?
Yeah, so we have to balance it. So the truth is, we are all being altruistic. For most of us staying at home, we're doing it for other people. We're not doing it for our own healthy families.
Right.
We're doing it for the immunocompromised, the elder, and we were doing it so that our hospitals weren't overwhelmed with the number of people that came at once. The original goal was just to sort of space out the people, understanding that most of us will get the COVID-19 unless it really dies out enough and the immunization becomes available. But in all likelihood, most of us will get it. We just want to space out when we're going to get it. So it's that, but we also don't want to do harm. So we are always thinking, we know families are there's some great things, being home, planting gardens, cooking together. There's some great things, but there's also very stressful things, loss of income, really less opportunities to be able to attend school and receive services. It's a big cost to families to be home doing this for others. So there's no doubt that it always has to be weighed. We as a society, are we doing more harm than help? So we are right now prioritizing our vulnerable people to help them. And then we will have to decide as a group whether that we continue that or whether we start to slowly resume our activities, understanding there will be some risk to that.
Right. I think that we have been quite sheltered up here, I think, thankfully so, sort of horrific about what's happening in New York, and hopefully that's over the top and we're coming down and it's getting under control, but it really is different in different places. It really is.
It's looking great here. If you look at some of the variables, it's that we're more rural, so we have more space. We're not on subways together and buses. We're not packed together in the same way. Even at our Hannaford, the aisles are wider. There's just so much more ability to be separated than there is for some folks that are riding the elevator and they're building down and they're going in really, I think, public transportation, just even tiny little markets. And they don't have even access to the fresh food and vegetables, things that keep your body healthy. In a lot of these areas, they're down to just junk food and cigarettes and alcohol. There's just not a way to keep your body as healthy either.
Right. So there's a lot of talk about, you have high blood pressure and you're not going to the doctor now because you don't want to go to the doctor right now.
Yeah.
And is that becoming a bigger problem? In other words, Corona is bad, but there's other things like, and children staying at home, possibly with a abusive parent, or all these different things, and not getting the food at lunch. So is that becoming a problem, or is it overblown?
No, that is a problem. So fortunately, there's been such a shift that will never be the same again, with telehealth now being provided for high blood pressure, diabetes, dermatology, primary care. We're doing everything now just like this. And we wouldn't have been able to handle this COVID even 15 years ago, just without all these abilities to connect, get data. We can use cell phones now to listen to hearts and look in ears. We are trying to provide as much care remotely as possible. It's not enough though. So we've always been open for all acute things. You break a leg, you have a heart attack, they're open. Obviously that trumps any need to protect yourself from COVID-19. And as of next Monday, we're reopening for all the next layer, the people who are waiting for biopsies or procedures that are important, not life-threateningly important. And then once that group goes through, then it will be all of us going back for our mammograms and colonoscopies and all the other routine things that are very, very important.
Right. So I've heard a lot of talk, and I've also read some things, and I want you to confirm if you can. A lot of people are talking about herd mentality or herd immunity, and I heard the numbers of how many people would have to get sick with this for that to really take effect, and it just isn't going to be Is that something that you can even hope? I mean, I have to say I'm terrible, but I don't generally get the flu shot because I'm not usually around people that have the flu,
Yes.
and other people get the flu shot, but there is no flu shot with this one.
No,
So,
not yet.
so
No,
the herd
right.
mentality just probably
So
isn't going to work with this one.
But what we don't, but we're hoping a lot of viruses, you get them and you at least have some ability to continue to fight them off for an interval of time, because it's new. We don't know how long lasting that effect will be. Some things, like if you think of chickenpox, you get that and you often retain the ability to fight it off for the rest of your life. So there's some viruses that you forever can continue to fight off. None of the other coronaviruses have given lifelong immunity. So we don't know how long this one will be. When you think of herd immunity, most people really can understand that from like polio, where we've really achieved nearly complete herd immunity through immunization. But it's a miracle when you can. And I'm hoping people will get interested in sort of immunology and medicine and all the ways that now that they're seeing an actual disease, what is all those other diseases that in my lifetime I have seen, but they have been really quelled by immunization. So another good thing that might come is an interest in herd immunity and immunizations and the power of prevention versus treatment. Think of all the things we could have saved if we had an immunization, just from plastic bag use to people dying to all of us losing money and time at school and time with friends and family. So you might value immunizations more.
So when I look at all the very smart people in the world, I have to say, there's people that are there are a lot of people working on this. This is not,
yes.
We'll see what happens. I mean, this is probably, when someone called the other day for an Apollo project, I think they've got it. I mean,
Yeah.
Probably, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is like, I'm not going to worry too much more about it because I just don't think there's much I can do. I've never known anything about medicine at all, so I'm just going to let the experts do what they do, right?
Yeah, so there's sweeping response to this, and most of the research funds now are being directed towards this. So there'll be other things that will have to go to the wayside, unfortunately, but this will be one that will be taking top priority worldwide. So it'll be really an unprecedented global effort to work together towards a solution for this one.
And of course, we don't want to be drinking Lysol, correct?
No drinking Lysol, no. But you do want to eat well, sleep well, exercise. Right. You really want to take care of your foundations of wellness, because if you're not doing those things, you're more vulnerable to every cold, every sort of thing coming down the pike. So the washing, I love having people wash their hands more. So I think there's some things that'll stick with us forever. That's really good practice anyway. And I think that all of us are being more mindful of the value of good health and how fortunate we are if we have that.
So, speaking of eating well, what are you doing during? What are the fun things that you're doing to get you to keep you sane, keep you happy, keep you healthy? I hear you like to cook. What are you liking to do?
So I love telehealth. I think it's amazing that I can go to patients' homes. I love that. I've also grown to have more and more appreciation of being raised by a Depression-era mother. So it's the things like I know how to utilize every bit of a carrot, potato, onion, celery. When I went out to make masks, I was able to find a bag of things my mom had saved from, like the cord from every sweatshirt that I'd ever worn that was no longer repurposable for any other reason. She'd make the sweatshirt into a pillow, a rag, she'd save the cord, she'd save the button. And I now have these valuable treasures at a time when I'm trying to make a mask. So I've really learned to be more resourceful. And I love the community of eating together. And I'm fortunate enough to have a son home and not be alone. I feel for all the folks that are just completely alone.
Right.
So for people that have people they like and they're all clustered together, it can be a lot of joy to it as well.
Right. My son's home from Washington, and you know, it's a small house, but it just seems like it's all working out. I think we're all not on eggshells, but I mean, we're all trying to work hard. I feel for the people that they feel it's a challenge to have the kids home, and you know, I can understand, having had a younger child at one point, the terror of sort of being in charge of that
right.
child.
And you can imagine if you have a very athletic, you have one of those go-go children that loves to go, that's a harder existence than if you have a sort of nerd kid that likes their room and a computer anyway. That's sort of the difference of the different storm, the same different boats for the same storm. We all can have such different experiences. So everyone should be so kind to one another, not judgmental. Take a deep breath. We don't understand what anyone else is going through. We only have our own little aperture, including New Hampshire, our families, our social, emotional, economic environment, all those things. And I think it's what, if you look at societies when there's adversity, we're often quick to turn on one another in a way of, you must be the bad one. Instead, let's open ourselves up to the leaning into not knowing what the future might hold, but trusting we can get through it together.
So rapid fire, give me 3 foods I should be eating to stay healthier.
Oh, you know, it's the antioxidant ones, Pete. I'm going to have to give you.
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, you do. You know, like all the lovely berries. Have some berries. The strawberries are fantastic. Have some dark green leafy vegetables. That's the right answer to every question on every nursing board ever. Oh, and the third would have to, I think, you know, it's going to have to go fruits and vegetables because those are so good at fiber and vitamin C and antioxidants, but it's okay to have a little candy too. It's all right. Have some dark chocolate.
All right, a couple exercises you can do if you're cooped up, and what can you do with the kids? What should you have the kids doing?
So, if anyone wants their link, I have a beautiful brochure created by the Child Development Clinic, and there's also one by the Children's Hospital at Dartmouth. They have links to Go Noodle, which is these cute little exercises. I personally love this Yoga with Adrienne. It's free. It's on Facebook. She does a lovely job of helping you relax and move. Every teacher, I've been Zooming in with teachers, so they invite me in so I can see how my students, my patients are doing, and they show me their students, and they're all using all these websites. So they've popped up. One of the industries that's doing really well is the home exercise industry. So there's a lot to be done. But if you want to do anything simple, just hold a plank, do some squats, do jumping jacks. You don't need any equipment at all. And do it like, make a system. So families need a routine. Don't fall into the rut where you're having a different schedule every day. You need to be waking up at the same time. You got to schedule your exercise. You have to schedule your meals, or else the things like eating well and getting outside will fall to the wayside. So make a schedule. We all do better with a schedule.
Wilma, any links that you have, we'll put with this video afterwards so that you can, they'll be right below it. So are we going to get through this?
Absolutely. We are doing great. We are exceeding expectations. We're going to get through this with flying colors. No problem.
All right. So I want to thank you. I will be back to you again because I'm sure there'll be other questions at another time. Is there anything else you want to add that I have not gotten to? Is there a tidbit of wisdom?
Oh, heavens. I just think we're fortunate to be in such a strong community. That Spear Hospital's done a wonderful job preparing for disaster preparation. You should see what they did to the rink down there. Of course, a plug for Plymouth Pediatrics. We have great community. What a lovely place to grow our families. You can feel confident that you have great care and that your children will be fine.
Great. Wilma, thank you so much for spending the time.
All right. Thanks,
okay.
Pete.
So
anytime. I can't wait to see Steve Whitman tonight. I'm staying on to decide.
I know. 7 o'clock. Get that garden going.
Out of my garden. That's what I want to do.
So just wanted a reminder to everybody that we're trying to get these things out here. There's a resilience roundtable. We're going to try to put up a bunch of things with people like Wilma, who did an excellent job right there. And Steve Whitman's doing something tonight, although when you see this, it'll probably be too late. But go to resilience, go to PlymouthEnergy.org/resilience-roundtable, and you can see what's coming up, or watch this again, or watch anything else we've done. So just trying to get people talking and get the community going. And someday we'll be able to do this together in the same room.
Very soon.
Very soon. Thank you, Wilma. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye, Pete.
Bye.